Hello, and welcome to the Education Redefined webcast series, where I uncover educational best practices and share success stories with every single episode. Go ahead, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite drink and enjoy a few moments talking about teaching and learning with me. Hi, my name is Sandy Alakhanpal and I am your host for this series. Subscribe to our webcast or look out for new episodes on YouTube. Join our Facebook group for the latest trends in the field of education. In this episode, we continue to celebrate dyslexia with Rylan's success. Rylan is currently a sophomore with a major in psychology and a minor in interior design. She has chosen to turn opportunities into strengths. She dreams of designing therapeutic learning spaces for those with disabilities. In this episode, I speak with Rylan's mom, Jennifer Brickhouse, who shares Rylan's ability to think outside the box, her determination and grit to be successful through school, her people skills, ability to navigate through big picture and details seamlessly, her visual spatial ability, and much more. Jennifer also talks about how Rylan tackled challenges through school, learned to advocate for herself, set up milestones, and celebrated success as a family. Jennifer, who is also a diagnostician, has supported Rylan in her dreams and journey through the years. If your child has recently been diagnosed with dyslexia and you're struggling to see the light at the end of the tunnel, then I encourage you to listen to Rylan's success. Rylan is an inspiration like no other. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jen Brickhouse. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Education Redefined. I'm really looking forward to our conversation about Rylan today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, for the month of October, we celebrate dyslexia and success with dyslexia. So, I want to celebrate Rylan today. I want to start us off with I know that Rylan was diagnosed with dyslexia. How old was she when she was diagnosed?
She was a late diagnosis. She was 10 years old and she had struggled for years. She had repeated kindergarten because we had saw some concerns, and then it was fourth grade, but it should have been her fifth grade year.
Okay. But from what I understand, she has been able to turn her challenges into success, which is what I'm really wanting to hone
Yeah.
into. Um, what was the hardest part of school for her?
Um, I think, I should have totally asked her this, but I think just, comparing herself to others in the classroom is where I saw her struggle. I mean, the academics and, we could do the intervention and everything, but just teaching her that it was okay to be different and to embrace those differences, and teaching her not to compare herself to the other kids' successes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, did you see herself? Did you see her come around, right? It's so
Mhm.
easy to focus on the negative aspect, right?
Mhm.
But obviously, she has learned to tackle that and then focus on her strength. So I want to
Yeah.
start us off with how did what was the hardest part of tackling that challenge, and how did she focus away from the negative and then hone in on her strengths?
Mhm. I think as a family, we worked really hard to celebrate her successes, and not that you didn't see or understand the challenges, but not to focus on those challenges. And I mean, her C or D was celebrated just the same way that an A would have been celebrated in another family. And we focused on the things that she was really good at. And one of the things that she had great success in was swimming. And
Awesome.
she, I know that that's not academic, but it's a part of, her day, and it gave her something to kind of ground her, to make her feel like she could be successful.
Can you
Yeah.
share some of the other strengths that sets her apart from her
Mhm.
peer group?
She's incredibly artistic, and not in an artsy, like the traditional where you think drawing, but she can see things that others can't see. She can conceptualize things that I could never conceptualize. And she's really good at going from big picture to small picture and understanding how to fill in all those in between things that I know is the gift of dyslexia for sure. It's that visual spatial, that fluid reasoning ability that is heightened because of the dyslexia. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you saying like you can give her a blank space and she
Mhm.
will come up with these amazing designs. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So she's 20 now, but when she was 16, we bought a new house and I knew that it wasn't the house that I wanted. And so she asked me if she could decorate it. So I gave her a budget, free reign. I just told her the style that I wanted. And she took entire rooms and transformed them. And she met with carpenters and she sketched things out. And she was able to change a dining room into a sitting room for us and change the kitchen. But it's just all of those things that I would have, been stuck. I had no, or I would have had to pay somebody to do it. She was able to walk in and look at it and have a vision for each space and know how to complete that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So that was something she's very proud of. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Like that just goes to that out of the box thinking,
Mhm.
right? And like you said, I would get completely stuck. I could have a vision for something, but then I don't know how to implement that vision. So
Right.
not only does she have that overarching vision, she
Mm.
has that ability to navigate in between, go into the depth and plan it out and give
Right.
people concrete steps. So and that's all theoretical, but she turns it into practical. And then she
Mhm.
knows how to work with all of these contractors to turn this vision into reality, which is I think a big business proposition that she has
Right.
for
Yeah.
future. Um, a big part of having dyslexia in school and in college is learning how to advocate for yourself.
Mhm.
How did she learn to advocate for herself?
We were really blessed that she was in a small school setting. And so she actually had a dyslexia support specialist that worked with her and talked to her about what her accommodations were, why she should be able to get them. And especially starting middle school and high school, she would have a copy of whether it was in her folder and then high school on her laptop, a copy of her accommodation page. And so they did some role playing. And one of the things would be like, if the teacher forgot to give her a hard copy of notes, she would, maybe send an email and say, "Hey, I don't know if you remember, but I have an accommodation page and I get a hard copy of notes. Can you please get those to me?" But teaching her to advocate for herself in a way that was respectful of the teacher, that was,
Right.
something. And now that she's in college, she's really good about advocating for herself too.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. All of us struggle with strengths and then we have our areas of growth, right? And then
Right.
some days, the areas of growth tend to overshadow us, right? And those are the days that at the end of the day, you need something to pick me up. And
Mhm.
I'm sure she went through that where she was, maybe it was a day where reading was really heavy or writing was really heavy. At the end of the day, what did she do, or what did you as a family do to pick up the spirit to say, okay, let's brush it off. Next day is going to
Mhm.
be a new day, right?
That's a good question. I
I know
think
you pointed out swimming. Swimming was one of
right.
them,
Yes,
right?
that was definitely something, and that got her endorphins up. So if she was feeling down, the swimming, she would get in the pool and she'd swim for sometimes an hour and a half to 2 hours at a time. So that would elevate the endorphins. Or we had fun Friday every Friday, and she got to pick where we went to eat or a fun family activity, and it was for nothing other than just celebrating that we got through the week. It didn't have to be about a test or any specific success, but just her like celebrating that she made it through that week and recognizing that it was hard for her to
Right,
get through that week.
right, right.
And I think that she really appreciated that. Yeah, she
Awesome,
loved that.
awesome. Something to look forward to at the end of each week,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, does she have an inspiration that she's looked up to all her life? Is there a person, a song, a family member, an achievement? Like what inspires her to get through life and keep going at it?
Um, don't know if, and she actually designed a tattoo and it says dyslexia. She's going to go get it soon, but as an anchor. And she said, I feel like I thought that dyslexia was what was holding me back. And now I know it's what gave me wings. And so just understanding that with determination and grit that you can get through something has given her the desire, the inspiration to keep pushing forward through that.
Awesome, awesome. Um, Now that she's in college, what are some of the goals that she has set for herself?
One of the goals is she's majoring in psychology with a minor in interior design, and she wants to develop therapeutic living spaces for people with disabilities, whether that's stroke patients or autism, individuals with autism or sensory processing disorders. But just recognizing that that was something that she needed as a child as well. I mean, she had sensory processing disorder and heightened sensitivity to sounds and textures, but just understanding that that's a part of a learning difference. And so she wants to work with individuals to help them have like a calm, comforting environment. So that's her goal for right now. We'll
Right,
see what
right.
happens. Yeah.
And you said she's a sophomore in college right
Mhm.
now, right?
She
So
is.
she's still picking her major and she
She
still
is.
has these goals that she set herself
Right.
to achieve. If she had a message for others, what do you think it would
Mhm.
be? Because I think there's a lot of parents and kids who are still in the initial period of either being
Mhm.
diagnosed. I'm sure there's they could learn from her message. So if she had a message, what would it be?
She always says this, no rain, no flowers. And so I think that that's kind of been her mantra that
Hmm.
um, you got to get through some of the yucky stuff and some things are going to be hard, but there's beauty at the end of it. And I think she really recognizes that, I mean, she laughs at 20 years old. She laughs. She's like, yeah, I have dyslexia. I can't spell or whatever. She just embraces that part of her life and her difference. And I think she appreciates that she has those struggles
Yeah,
or that she
yeah.
had those struggles. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Um, so I know that students who have dyslexia, they tend to use certain skills to their advantage, right? We all have
Mhm.
areas of growth and we have strengths. I'm sure Rylan has hers. What are
Mhm.
some of the accommodation techniques that she has or compensating mechanisms she has built over a
Mhm.
period of these years that have worked for her?
She's very visual. And so when she studies, she does note cards and like with certain colors, she associates certain colors with different things. And she might sketch a little picture and then she'd try to watch maybe a video or a podcast or something. But connecting that learning to something visual has been one of her coping mechanisms. Um, and I think anything she loves, um, she used procedural text a lot. A lot of times, if there was something, if there was a way, if it was math or whatever, where she can incorporate it into an actual tangible lesson, she would do that to help reinforce. And that was a lot of self motivation, self taught that she would do. It would be independent learning, but definitely visual is kind of her go to.
Okay. Does she like technology? Because it sounds like she's visual, but she uses technology to her advantage. And I'm really curious, how did she use technology to her advantage?
Well, I mean, not only does she have dyslexia, but she has dysgraphia and dyscalculia. And so, one of the things that she's used is, I mean, the computer for Dragon Speak, assistive technology for her dysgraphia. And then definitely she's used websites such as Khan Academy to help reteach. She loves that visual piece and to be able to go through that. But just connecting, using technology to connect her learning to reinforce what she learned auditorily in a classroom has been very helpful for her.
Awesome, awesome. Because what I hear is that a lot of, while there were kids who struggled with this virtual environment in the
Mm,
pandemic, there were a lot of kids with dyslexia who were
mhm.
highly successful due
Yes.
to the technology, which I kind of hear that Rylan
Yes.
has this niche for technology as
Right.
well, and
Yeah.
she would have totally thrived in an environment
Yes.
like this, right? So technology, the visual aspect, the procedural text, and also the fact that things are available, things were, or at least she found different learning modalities, is what I'm
Mm,
hearing. So it's
right.
not just the sit and learn and listen or
Mhm.
read, but she tried to find the same concept in multiple different ways to teach herself and make it accessible for herself.
That is
Um,
correct.
yeah, uh, what were some of the mechanisms that the teachers used that were highly successful for her?
One of her accommodations was to have project based learning. So,
Okay.
because she's very hands on, so not always, but when applicable, that she had that option to present instead of maybe a paper, she would be able to do a presentation or a project, and that was that was my favorite thing about watching her through high school, was seeing her to do watching her create these projects and to demonstrate her learning in a different way. That was one of the things the teachers did that I saw that really stood out to me.
Awesome, awesome. And outside of the support within the school system, of course, you have those accommodations and interventions.
Mhm.
Was there anything outside of the school system that was particularly useful to her
um,
in terms of academics?
in terms of academics, I mean, I don't know if this is what you're asking, but I we had a really amazing executive functioning coach that we worked with who taught her how to plan and organize and structure to look, for the entire semester,
Mm-hmm.
not just to look at a day at a time, to plan out like, okay, do I have swim lessons, all night, but then I have a test the next day. So I need to back it up. I need to start studying on this day. And do I have all my supplies that I need for my projects? That the executive function coaching has been really helpful, even through college. She no longer has the executive function coach, but I see her implement those same strategies. She plans months in advance now. So I think that that was very helpful.
So I'm really curious about these
Mhm.
executive functioning coaches because I've never heard of them. Where
No?
No, I haven't. So I know that I know what executive functioning
Yeah,
means because we do it for ourselves. And
right,
and somehow you pick it up along the way, right? You
right.
watch your parents do good practices, you watch your teachers and you can pick up pieces from here and there. But I didn't know that there is a person who can actually
Mm,
coach you through it. So
yes.
I'm curious, how did you identify that this was an area of need for her and
Mhm.
then go find a coach for her that worked really, really well?
Well, it was very apparent because it would be 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and she would, be yelling in the house, Mom, I need these supplies. I have a project. And I was like, When's the project? She was like, In the morning. And so I thought, okay, this is not good planning. So there's some disconnect here. Or she would say that she didn't have enough time to study because she had this, this, and this. And so just balancing all of her life, her social, her swim with her homework, I saw that there was a deficit, that she wasn't managing that on her own. And so there are executive functioning coaches that this is what they specialize in.
Okay.
Um, and they'll figure out your child's learning style, some of their strengths and weaknesses with their executive functioning, and then help them regulate that and teach them how to plan out and structure and most effective study strategies. So
Awesome.
we did
Awesome.
that for probably 2 years in high school.
Okay. And is it a particular age group that they work with? Is it just high school or middle school or like is there a particular
Typically,
age
I
that is
recommend,
successful?
yeah, about seventh, eighth grade, if you're going to start it,
Hmm.
that's when you've got like the more rigorous schedules and multiple classes. But high school as well. And some kids, even in college, need an executive function coach. It
Right.
just depends on if they've been able to like hold on to those skills or not. But there's a website. It's called
Yes.
National Institute of Learning Development.
Okay.
And if you go on that website and you put your zip code in, you can find executive functioning coaches in your area.
Wow, that's an
Yeah.
awesome resource, Jennifer. I would have not, I had no idea that there was somebody who could actually work with, because I think normal kids struggle with organization. It's not
Yes.
just Rylan. I mean, it's
No.
great that Rylan recognized her deficits and decided to work on it, but I see a lot of kids who are sitting with papers scattered all over their desk
Right.
and don't know how to organize, or even their binder is like stuffed with papers and
Right.
nothing's
Yes.
organized.
Yeah.
But I think that's an amazing tool that she was able to use to her advantage.
Mm.
Um, I'm really grateful that you decided to celebrate Rylan with me today. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you taking the time to talk about her. Please say thank you to Rylan for
I will.
giving me the opportunity to talk about her success, and we wish her all the best. Thank you for listening to this episode of Education Redefined. We welcome feedback. Join our Facebook group to leave a comment or a question. We look forward to hearing from you. Until then, stay tuned for our next episode.